Okay, good morning, everybody. My name's Heidi. I am the Ventura River Watershed Council Coordinator. I want to thank you guys for attending our special meeting this month in December, which is going to feature a presentation from Ventura County Public Works Agency about the Matilija Dam project, and will be followed by an optional field trip afterwards. As we normally do, I just want to open the floor. Does anyone have any questions not pertaining to the presentation we're about to hear today, or any comments or updates anyone wants to share? Okay, cool. As a reminder, we do have waiver forms in the back. If you have not signed a waiver form yet, you will not be able to go on the bus. So if you haven't done that, do that. And we have other information about the project at the tables in the back. With that, Norman, are you ready?
Yep. Thank you, Heidi. And so my name is Kurt Norman. I work with Ventura County Watershed Protection District. I'm project manager for the Matilija Dam ecosystem removal project in the design and construction division. Before we do get started, I want to provide a little bit of overview of, well, for me, number one, if you are not familiar with this, there's a Donner tree. If you look out that window, and the bathrooms are up there on the right for men's and women's. I'll have the presentation for project updates on design planning and funding. And then I believe Donna Hebert will give some CEQA updates to you. After we wrap up here, we'll get on the buses, go to the dam site. I was wondering, is there anybody in the room who has not been to the dam site yet? Okay, yeah, there's a few more than I thought. Then at the dam site, we ordered a toilet. It should be at the Matilija Hot Springs area. We'll go past that, proceed up to the dam, disembark from the buses, walk up to the top of the dam. Should be enough room for just about everybody, maybe not all at the same time. Then we'll go down to the lower part of the dam. At any point, we're available to answer questions. We'll then head down to Matilija Hot Springs for lunch and then head home. So that's a general outline of today's presentation and site visit. I'd like to say thank you to Brian Brennan from Supervisor Levere's office for showing up. We have I'd like to introduce some members of the project team, which begins Matt Ehret, the design and construction division engineer. He's my boss. And we also in our division is Pam Lindsay, who runs the environmental section. And there's Donna Hebert, and she is the project manager for CEQA, and Heather Miranda, who is an environmental planner. So that's the project team. Also, some of our project partners are here. Paul Jenkins, I recognize you from the Matilija Coalition. If there's anybody I missed and they want to raise their hand, they can. Oh, Alma from Ventura Water. Thank you for joining us today. So with that, go ahead. Just want to cover the project, a little bit of the background and history to date, in case anybody's new to the project or unfamiliar with it. And we'll cover a little of the history and explanation of the current dam removal project, as well as updates to design updates, funding updates, and CEQA updates. You guys can hear me in the back okay? Matilija Dam was constructed in 1948. At the onset, there was evidence of alkali silica reaction, which reduces the strength of the concrete. And this resulted in notching in 1965 and a second notching in 1978. There's where the dam is under DS Division of Safety, State Division of Safety of Dams. They inspect it once a year. We do surveys there twice a year, and they've done an analysis. Our consultants have done an analysis. It now operates under a restriction to keep water level 7 feet below the crest between March and December. In 1997, the steelhead was designated as an endangered species. In 1999, the Ventura County Board of Supervisors passed a resolution supporting the removal of Matilija Dam from 2001 to 2004. There was a feasibility study completed with the Army Corps of Engineers, which Pam told me just this morning, December 14th, 19 years ago today was when the Board of Supervisors approved alternative 4B from the feasibility study. There was some issues with fine sediment, which through work by a technical advisory group and a design oversight group, they were able to come up with a solution for that. And in 2017, things got started and restarted with a grant from California Department of Fish and Wildlife to start the implementation design. The 2004 feasibility study identified some projects that need to be completed before the dam is removed. That includes infrastructure. I could just go through them here on the chart. There's in the rust color on the screen. Projects that have been completed include acquisition of the Matilija Dam's hot springs, Old Baldwin Road trailhead construction, Foster Park wells, construction in the Santa Ana Boulevard Bridge, which is the most recent project completed. Since 2007, we've been doing habitat restoration, both ourselves and other organizations throughout the watershed. The projects that remain to be completed before the dam can be removed are the improvements at the Robles water diversion, replacement of the Camino Cielo bridge crossing, flood improvements at Miners Oaks, and levee rehabilitation to the Live Oak Acres and Casita Springs levees. So those all have to be done prior to dam removal. And then this slide covers in some detail the planning process that took place between 2004 and 2017. So Matilija, the project has a long history, relatively long history. Okay.
Can I ask that the zoom bar on the right be collapsed so that we see the.
Sure, thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Eddie. So the project that was selected in 2017 consists of installing two large 12-foot diameter orifices in the lower part of the dam about location of the original stream bed. These are basically tunnels through the bottom of the dam. Is for natural sediment transport. I'm going to show you just some of the this is the tunnels or orifices go through the base of the dam. There's they can be placed with or without gates. What's shown here is a tunnel with a plug of concrete left at the end. And this is similar to what's been done on other dams and is being done on dams that are under removal today, which is the in this case within 3 days of a forecast qualifying event storm, there will be charges placed to do a controlled blast of the concrete plug. The conduit dam was done this way. There's videos that you can look at on YouTube for that. Also, preparation before dam removal includes vegetation clearing in the former reservoir area, construction of a pilot channel through the reservoir to encourage flow to the orifices and increase the fine sediment transport. They talk about a qualifying storm event before the orifices are opened. A qualifying storm event is defined as there's been recorded 15 inches of rainfall in the upper watershed, and with a storm is forecast to occur within 3 days that will exceed 1,700 cubic feet per second. Flow rate, a cubic foot is about the size of a basketball. For a period of 24 hours to flush the major portion of the fine sediments out to the ocean in a single event. So on this chart, we want 1,700 CFS and say we want 95% probability, so we'd need a storm forecast of that will produce a stream flow of 3,700 CFS to open the orifices. All right, once the orifices are open, this is a representational exhibit of the reservoir. It's not an actual cross-section at a specific point, but with the orifices open, sediment starts to discharge and then create the creek bed behind it. This map shows some of the activities associated with dam removal, both phase 1, which is preparatory work for the qualifying event, which involves installing the tunnels. There's staging area required. So there's staging areas shown at the Matilija Hot Springs. There's dewatering activities up by the pool, so they'll need to dewater the pool to install the tunnels for the future plug blasting or gate opening. And once the flush is done, then they move to the upstream end of the dam, and what's shown here is a ramp at the upstream end of the dam crest. They slowly bring the dam crest down through demolition from the backside. This is not necessarily how the contractor may decide to do it, but this is showing a method that has been done successfully on the San Clemente dam removal and other projects. So this also shows some potential disposal stockpile areas that will be discussed in the CEQA document, including a road escarpment along Highway 33, maybe places at the Ojai Quarry, and this also shows the Matilija Hot Springs. So those will be discussed in the CEQA documents. This graph is a summary of the sediment transport studies that have been done since the 2004 feasibility study. There was one-dimensional G-stars. It was a one-dimensional model done during the Army Corps study, and that was followed by another one-dimensional study, Dream 2, during the sediment study groups between like 2008 to 2016. So the first one's shown in gray back about 2000. The Dream 2 is shown in orange, and the most recent one, which is SRH, I don't know what SRH stands for, but it's a two-dimensional sediment transport program that they're currently using to evaluate the system. And what is reassuring to us at Public Works is that the trends for all three of these studies, though they're done by different consultants with different programs over time, show the same trends. So the trend, of course, is there's high deposition upstream of roadways, and then downstream of the roadways diversion, it gets more muted. Just wanted to show that there has been some progress on project design. They're looking at 30% design of the orifices. The orifices were originally anticipated to go perpendicular to the axis of the dam to minimize the amount of concrete that gets removed. So they modeled this, and it showed high velocity impact on the left bank. And so as part of their study, they want to look at altering the angle of the orifices. So now they're skewed through the dam rather than perpendicular, and that did improve the flow. And so now I'm just going through the component projects from Matilija Dam downstream that need to be completed. The first one downstream is the Camino Cielo road crossing. And we have secured funding for both final design and CEQA from the Wildlife Conservation Board and State Conservation, the Coastal Conservancy. Thank you, Pam. So to complete that work, but it's, as I mentioned a little earlier, there's some ongoing sediment analysis to be concluded before the consultant will start their final design on that. I did want to share this slide in that this was not the big storm, but this is from January 5th, before the January 19th event at Camino Cielo. It's looking across from Highway 33 at Rice Road. So this was nuts. Sorry. This was taken by a member of the Roads and Transportation Department. That was about a 5-year event. And this is the first repair. There's more than one repair done at this crossing this past year. The next project area downstream is the Robles diversion, which includes the diversion and the community of Miners Oaks. There's some quite a bit of effort going into the design, preliminary design on Robles and Miners Oaks. It's a primarily the Robles diversion needs to be something that Casitas Municipal Water District can support and is excited about. Actually, they need to be, on board that this is the project design is going to address sediment problems through the reach, and at the same time, there's regulatory agencies that need to be satisfied, and both groups are involved in the design process for that, and depending on what occurs there affects the Miners Oaks flood protection. So these are both shown together under the one slide. There's current sediment issues at Robles, which include sedimentation in the forebay, sedimentation in the canal, as well as clogged fish screens and potential fish passage barriers occurring. So, keeping the diversion flowing and functional is also important to fish passage. This shows, this is a snapshot as you're standing at Robles, looking over time what the sediment impacts are. So they were here before dam removal. If the dam's removed or not, the blue line, there's going to be continued sediment arriving at the Robles facilities. And then the upper line shows what, kind of what we have to address in the near future when the dam's removed for sediment transport. So it's a challenging design process. This is just to show there is progress, and we're moving ahead on the Robles preliminary design. We are looking for wrapping up the first phase of the preliminary design by next October, and then moving forward with the 30% design the following year. There's also some levee rehabilitation projects at Live Oak Acres and Casita Springs. I guess, just back up to Robles for a minute to say that funding has been secured for the preliminary design and early sequel work for Robles from the State Coastal Conservancy and California Department of Fish and Wildlife. In addition, funding's been for design and sequel has been secured from California Department of Fish and Wildlife and Wildlife Conservation Board for the Miners Oaks flood improvement. For the levees at Casita Springs and Live Oak Acres, the funding is from the Wildlife Conservation Board grant. Live Oak Acres is under design now. The consultant came out on December 5th for some interior drainage analysis and review. They took some samples from the stream bed, and they're working on the FEMA hydraulic analysis. They are also, they'll need the final sediment analysis to be completed before they can move forward and complete their design. For Casita Springs, the consultant's been selected and is, I think the contract is scheduled to be awarded this spring. So with that, we come to the implementation timeline, which We're basically wrapping up 23, so we're in the supplemental environmental impact report phase, as well as looking towards moving ahead with the final design for Camino Salo Bridge and Live Oak Acres in the near term, followed by the roadways diversion and Miners Oaks improvements. After that, the tunnels get placed along with the pilot channel. And we're ready for the qualifying event that we spoke about earlier. Excuse me. So I ran out of gas. I'm gonna have to. Oh. Funding. This. It's over $44 million in funding has been gotten since 2017. That's what this chart represents. And then even though, and thanks to that's to in large part to our RLF consultant, David Yardis, who not only helps secure grants, but does a lot of other related work to keep the project on target. So this is what we need to get us to 2030 in the orifice installation, and then beyond 2030. And so with that, let's see, Donna, do you want to come talk about the sequence slides or?
Would you mind advancing the slides for me?
Yeah, I'd be happy to.
So currently, we're in the process of doing scoping for the subsequent EIR to the 2004 EIS-EIR for the dam removal component. And that the scoping process, as it indicates there, was started on November 20th. It ends on the 20th of December. We have some sheets back there that you can actually put your comments on if you'd like. And what that whole process is about is letting us know what issues you think should be addressed in the subsequent EIR, whether it's certain environmental impacts that you're aware of that maybe we don't even know about, or mitigation measure concepts that you have because you realize, okay, there's going to be a sediment impact. I think this might work. Alternative. So all that information is what we're trying to get from you, and comments will be addressed in the environmental document. There'll be opportunities to have input later on at the draft phase also. And we're also going to be starting a subsequent environmental document that's specific to the Casitas Springs and Live Oak Acres levee projects. So it turns out that we are having multiple subsequent documents because the various components that are on the map that you mostly have picked up are at different design phases, as was just mentioned by Kirk. So it's too early for some elements to be evaluated. So they're kind of being tiered over time, but cumulatively, all of the project components have to be considered in each subsequent document. Let's see what's on the next slide. Okay, some of the new information, as you can see here, has to do with increased sedimentation and water surface elevations and the area that is prone to the 100-year flooding. This is information that's going to be addressed that was different in the 2004 EIS-EIR. Next. And this slide is, if you could take a photograph if you want, but also there's information back there about submitting comments. You can submit them to MDERP@ventura.org. There's again the piece of paper back there that you can just write your comments on, and it has the address, the mailing address on the back side. So you can just put them straight in the mail. And that's about it. So I think what do we have for the next one? I think it's questions. Yep.
And yes, yep.
And so Kurt, I see a couple of people try to see the screen from back here, and it's really tough for me. We'll make this slide deck available, right? Through the Ventura River.
Yeah, we'll share it with Ventura River, yeah.
Oh, that'd be
Watershed
nice.
Council.
Everybody can get it. That's great.
Yes,
I noticed approximately $240 million for the project cost.
right, from today.
Is that in today's dollars or future dollars?
That's like today's dollars.
Okay, so it'll.
Yeah.
Over the next
Mhm.
7 years, we're talking about a $300 million project. You secured 44 million of that is approximately what, 15% of the total funding that you're required. What's the plan for funding? Where do you see the sources of funding coming from? And first question, and secondly, are there potentials that's going to slow down this project beyond the 2030 scope that you're envisioning now?
Okay, so first question, funding, where we see the money coming from. Through, the next several years, we're looking to primarily state funding agencies that have already provided money for design and CEQA. All at the same time, we are starting this next year. National Resource Conservation Service will be starting a watershed plan evaluation of the Ventura River and environmental study. So we're looking to them. If the NRCS, they'll do their evaluation, we think the chances of it qualifying as a project are quite good. And they pay 100% of the implementation for flood protection, up to 100%, and up to 75% for implementation of improvements at roadways. And we think with NRCS funding, 75% of roadways, that state funders could be convinced to cover the remaining gap. And the second question you had was,
What major stumbling blocks could push that 2030 number to the right?
oh, well, sure. So, yeah. One is funding, potentially. And I don't think of any others.
So, if I may, Rola's diversion is a really complicated project. It's gonna take a lot of smart people coming up with a good solution. So that's the long pole in the tent. Funding, you're correct, that's always an issue. Kirk and I have been on the, have our hand out to every state funder there is. And then along with that, we could potentially have a drought, and we cannot get that kind of live event for some time. So those are the three things.
No federal funding in this project?
The NRCS would be federal funding. Yes, sir.
The roadless diversion, will there be any plans to improve the capacity of the flow in the lake and also the reliability?
So the roadways, they're allocated a certain amount of flows, and they're maximizing that now, is my understanding.
But no increase in the.
They get their, yeah, so the capacity of the canal is still 500 CFS.
What about the natural resources, the hot springs, the hot springs? What do you foresee? Will there be public access ever to, like there used to be, Matilija Hot Springs?
Yeah, good question. When the property was purchased with money from the Coastal Conservancy, and the purposes for future public use and recreation.
So possibly.
Oh, yeah.
There's opportunities to ask questions during the tour.
Sure. Yes,
What were the names of other projects that were similar to this dam removal project?
okay, so,
Technical staff?
yeah, they're all, when I was talking about the orifices, I said condit dam, CONDIT. That's where they, use controlled blasting to open an orifice. San Clemente Dam in Monterey County in the Carmel Valley, that's where, when I talked about they're coming up behind, on a ramp behind the dam to take it down. That's an example of that one. There are others.
How deep is the pilot channel?
So the pilot channel is 20 feet deep, shown, that's on the one that's shown currently, yeah. No, I'm sorry, 5 feet deep, 20 feet wide.
From the crest.
5 feet deep, yeah, about.
From the crest of the dam down to the creek bed elevation, how big is that? I mean, it's all that's got sediment on it, right?
Yeah, so we're gonna take, when we get out to the dam site, I have some of the 65% plans to take a look at. It's better to, look at it and then take a look at the plans out at the site.
Is there any property acquisition needed to lower the floodplain?
Right, yes.
Changes to the 100-year floodplain. So
Yeah. So maybe talk a little bit about getting on the buses. I think, we'll take a break in case somebody has to use the restroom and get your lunch and get ready to get on the bus. But you can discuss that.
Yeah.
So with that, I'll table it. Thank you for the opportunity and the questions. Look forward to talking to you, those of you who are able to join us out at the dam. Heidi